The paper shook in Dr. Peyton's hands. I'd seen plenty of concerned medical professionals in my lifetime, but never one who looked genuinely afraid of what he was reading. "Mr. Wallace, could you step into my office for a moment?" His voice cracked slightly as he gestured toward a small room adjacent to the examination area. I glanced at my wife, Lana, who sat scrolling through her phone in the waiting area, completely unbothered. She'd insisted on coming to this appointment, my third in 2 months, for symptoms nobody could explain: fatigue, hair loss, tremors in my hands. Random bouts of confusion that left me staring blankly at colleagues mid-conversation. "It'll just be a minute," I assured her. She barely looked up, just nodded with a small smile that didn't reach her eyes. The moment Dr. Peyton closed his office door, his professional demeanor collapsed. "I need you to listen very carefully," he whispered, placing the lab reports on his desk. "These are your wife's routine blood work results from last week and yours from today." His finger trembled as it moved between the two papers. "Do you see this? The thallium levels?" I squinted at the numbers, which meant nothing to me. "Your wife has significant traces of thallium in her system, but also shows markers of someone taking a chelation agent, essentially an antidote." He took a deep breath. "Your levels are nearly 5 times higher, with no chelation markers." The room seemed to tilt sideways. "Thallium poisoning. It's sometimes called the poisoner's poison because the symptoms mimic so many other conditions," he continued, his voice barely audible. "Mr. Wallace, someone is poisoning you both, except your wife is protecting herself." My mouth went dry. That can't be right." Dr. Peyton gripped my shoulder. "You need to leave this hospital right now and never go back home. File for divorce immediately." He glanced at the door. "She'll know something's wrong if I keep you too long. Take this." He scribbled something on a prescription pad and pressed it into my palm. When I unfolded it outside, it wasn't a prescription at all. It read, "Your coffee mugs, toothbrush, shampoo, anything you use daily. She's killing you slowly. Trust no one. Call this number." Below was a phone number, and the words, "Toxicology specialist. Pay cash only." Through the waiting room window, I could see Lena looking up, eyes narrowing as she watched me standing frozen outside the clinic entrance. She was already gathering her purse, preparing to come find me. 10 years of marriage. The woman who nursed me through pneumonia 3 years ago. The woman who just last night had kissed my forehead and promised we'd figure out what's making you sick, babe. She was approaching the clinic doors now, her face arranged in concern that suddenly looked practiced, artificial. I had maybe 10 seconds to decide if my doctor was insane or if my wife was systematically ending my life. If this story has you on the edge of your seat already, take a quick second to subscribe to our channel. Each week we bring you stories that will keep you up at night, wondering what you'd do in these impossible situations. Drop a like and comment what you think is going to happen next. I promise the truth is more shocking than anything you could guess. My name is Theo Wallace. Until that moment outside the clinic, I'd considered myself fortunate in life. Successful architectural firm, beautiful home in the historic district, and Lena, vibrant, social, artistic Lena, who'd swept into my life at exactly the right moment. We'd met at a charity auction 11 years ago. I was 32, recently promoted to partner, and finally starting to enjoy the fruits of years of 80-hour work weeks. Lena was 29, captivating in a simple black dress, bidding aggressively on a painting I wanted for my office. "You're driving up the price," I'd whispered as I stood beside her during the bidding war. She'd given me a sidelong glance. "Maybe that's the point. The children's hospital gets more money, and," she raised her paddle again, "I get to see how badly you want it." I'd been enchanted by her boldness. When she ultimately won the painting, she'd approached me at the bar afterward. "I have no place to hang this monstrosity," she'd admitted, "but I couldn't let you have it too easily." Our courtship had been intense and swift. She moved into my apartment within 4 months. We married on the 1-year anniversary of our meeting. Life with Lena was never boring. She transformed my bachelor apartment into a real home, dragged me to social events that expanded my professional network, and brought spontaneity to my methodical existence. The first 7 years had been mostly blissful. We'd tried for children without success, weathered the death of my mother, celebrated career milestones. Lena had her art studio in our 3rd bedroom where she created abstract paintings that occasionally sold at local galleries. I had my firm, which grew steadily more prestigious. The problems began 3 years ago, subtle at first. Missing money from our joint account that Lena explained away as art supplies. Late nights with friends I'd never met. Small lies about where she'd been or who had called. I'd confronted her once, after finding receipts for hotel rooms in the city where we lived. She'd cried, claimed she needed space sometimes to think and create without distraction. I'd backed down, afraid of losing her, and perhaps too absorbed in a major project that consumed 18 months of my life. That project, a community arts center downtown, had brought me considerable recognition. Magazine features, industry awards, a significant bonus. 2 months after its completion, I'd amended my will, naming Lena as sole beneficiary to my estate worth just over $4 million. And 2 weeks after that, my mysterious symptoms began. First came the headaches and insomnia. Then stomach issues that left me doubled over in pain. My hair started falling out in clumps. My hands shook so badly I couldn't draw a straight line, forcing me to delegate design work to junior associates. 3 different doctors, dozens of tests, diagnoses ranging from stress to early-onset Parkinson's to psychosomatic illness. Nothing helped. The symptoms only worsened, especially after weekends at home when Lena would prepare elaborate meals to help you regain your strength. Standing outside that clinic, watching my wife's approach, pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. The special teas she brewed for me each morning. How she'd insist I use the better coffee mug while she used the chipped one. Her newfound interest in gardening, particularly plants with toxic properties that she claimed were just so architectural in their structure. I made my decision in those few heartbeats before she reached me. I smiled, tucked the doctor's note deep into my pocket, and opened the door for her. "Everything okay?" she asked, her hand touching my arm with practiced concern. "Just some additional tests," I said, watching her face carefully. "Nothing conclusive." Was that relief flickering across her features? Or was I now seeing malice in every expression? "Did they give you anything for the symptoms at least?" she asked as we walked to the car. "Just a new vitamin regimen," I lied. "I'll pick them up while you rest," she offered immediately. "No," I said too forcefully. I softened my tone. "No, I already got them. They're in my pocket." As she drove us home, I pretended to doze in the passenger seat while my mind raced through options. I couldn't confront her, not without proof beyond a doctor's suspicion. If she truly was poisoning me, alerting her would only make her more careful, perhaps accelerate her timeline. "You know," she said suddenly, breaking the silence, "I've been thinking we should take that trip to the lake house next week, get you away from work stress. I could cook all your favorite meals, really focus on building your strength back. Our isolated lake house, where we'd have no neighbors within shouting distance, where she could control everything I consumed." "Sounds perfect," I said, eyes still closed. "Just what I need." When we arrived home, I begged exhaustion and went straight to our bedroom. Once alone, I called the number Dr. Peyton had given me from my cell phone's bathroom. A gruff voice answered. "Henderson, this is Theo Wallace. Dr. Peyton gave me this number. He thinks my wife is poisoning me with thallium?" A long pause. "Can you safely collect samples? Water bottle? Coffee mug? Toothpaste?" "I think so, yes." "Do it. Meet me at the lab address, I'll text you. Come alone, don't let her know." After we hung up, I lay in bed plotting my next move. I needed evidence. Needed to understand how long this had been happening and why. Part of me still hoped for an explanation that wouldn't destroy my entire reality. I heard Lena in the kitchen below, pots and pans clanging as she prepared dinner. The thought of eating anything she cooked now made my stomach clench. "Theo?" Her voice floated up the stairs. "I'm making your favorite soup, the one that always makes you feel better." I closed my eyes, remembering how violently ill I'd been after the last batch of her healing soup. How she'd stayed up all night beside me, stroking my hair as I vomited and shivered. Had she been monitoring the progression of my poisoning while pretending to comfort me? "Sounds wonderful," I called back weakly. "I'll be down soon." I needed to survive the night without raising suspicion. Tomorrow, I would begin gathering what I needed to understand the unthinkable, that the woman I loved might be methodically killing me for my money. As I heard her footsteps on the stairs, a teacup clinking softly against its saucer, I made myself a promise. If what Dr. Peyton suspected was true, my revenge would be as patient and meticulous as her attempted murder had been. The bedroom door opened, and Lena entered with a steaming cup, her smile gentle and concerned. "I brought you some tea with honey," she said. "It'll help you sleep." I stared at the teacup in her hands. Steam curled upward in delicate wisps. Honey glistened against the amber liquid. "Thank you," I managed, taking the cup but not drinking. Lena sat on the edge of the bed, her weight shifting the mattress slightly. "You look worried. Did the doctor say something that scared you?" Her eyes, those deep brown eyes I'd once found so mesmerizing, studied my face with an intensity that now felt predatory rather than loving. "Just tired of not having answers," I said, placing the tea on the nightstand. "Think I'll try to sleep first. Drink this when I wake up." A flicker of something annoyance crossed her features before she smoothed it away with a smile. "Of course, rest is probably better anyway." She leaned down and kissed my forehead, her lips cool against my skin. "I'll wake you when dinner's ready." After she left, I waited 5 minutes before carefully pouring the tea into an empty prescription bottle I'd hidden in my bedside drawer. I resealed it and tucked it into my briefcase, then rinsed the cup in our bathroom sink. That night, I performed the most challenging acting role of my life. I pushed food around my plate, pretending to eat while actually disposing of most of it in my napkin. I complained of nausea to explain my lack of appetite. I feigned weakness that, in truth, was all too real after months of actual poisoning. "Maybe I should stay home tomorrow, take care of you," Lena suggested, clearing the plates. No, I said quickly. "You have that art collective meeting. I'll just sleep. Probably go into the office in the afternoon if I'm feeling up to it." She frowned. "You shouldn't push yourself." "I'll see how I feel," I promised. As we prepared for bed, I watched her through new eyes. This woman who moved through our bedroom with such familiarity, had she been calculating my death all this time? Each night, as she read beside me, had she been noting my declining health with satisfaction? I pretended to fall asleep quickly, my breathing deep and regular. Eventually, I felt the mattress shift as Lena rose. Through slitted eyes, I watched her pad silently to our bathroom. Instead of turning on the light, she closed the door most of the way before doing so. A thin strip of brightness outlined the door. I counted to 30, then carefully slid out of bed. Moving to the door, I peered through the crack. Lena stood at the sink, measuring white powder from a small amber vial into what looked like a medicine capsule. She took a pill from a different bottle, swallowed it with water, then carefully returned both containers to a hidden compartment behind a false drawer bottom. My blood went from ice to fire in an instant. Dr. Peyton was right. The white powder had to be thallium, and the pill her protection against its effects. I returned to bed before she emerged, my mind racing with plans. When she slipped back beside me, I felt her hand gently brush my thinning hair, a tender gesture that now made my skin crawl. "Sleep well, my love," she whispered. Morning couldn't come fast enough. The moment Lena left for her art collective meeting, I sprang into action. I collected samples from everything I could think of: my toothbrush, coffee mug, the special jar of honey she used only in my tea, my shampoo. I packed them carefully, then headed to the address Henderson had texted me. It was a nondescript building in an industrial area outside town. The man who greeted me was equally unremarkable, mid-50s, gray hair, glasses, wearing a lab coat. "Mr. Wallace, come in quickly." Inside, sophisticated equipment lined the walls of what appeared to be a private laboratory. "You understand this isn't exactly standard procedure," Henderson said, taking my samples. "But Paul, Dr. Peyton, and I go way back." What he described worried me enough to agree to this. "You believe I'm being poisoned too?" Henderson's expression was grim. Thallium poisoning cases aren't common, but when they occur, it's almost always intentional. The symptoms mimic so many conditions that it often goes undetected until it's too late. "How long would it take to kill someone?" I asked, my mouth dry. "Depends on the dosage. Small amounts over time, which appears to be your situation, can take months. It's a particularly cruel method. The victim suffers progressive neurological damage, hair loss, severe pain." He paused. "How long have your symptoms been present?" "About 4 months, getting worse recently." He nodded grimly. "Then we don't have much time. Your body can only take so much." While Henderson analyzed my samples, I used his computer to research thallium poisoning. Every symptom matched my experience perfectly. I also discovered something disturbing. Thallium was once nicknamed the inheritor's powder because it was used by people who stood to gain from someone's will. An hour later, Henderson confirmed what we already knew. My toothbrush, coffee mug, honey, and shampoo all contained thallium. The tea from last night had a particularly high concentration. "She's escalating the dosage," Henderson said, likely getting impatient for results. I felt dizzy with the confirmation. "What do I do now? Go to the police?" Henderson sighed. "You could, but poisoning cases are notoriously difficult to prove unless you catch someone in the act. Your wife would claim contamination, that she's a victim too. She'd point to her own thallium levels as proof, so I'm just supposed to let her kill me? No. First, you need to stop the poisoning immediately. Second, gather evidence that proves intent. And third," he hesitated, "consider why she's doing this. People who poison usually have a motive beyond the obvious." I thought of my revised will, the life insurance policy, our joint accounts, money. We had some financial struggles recently with her art not selling, and I changed my will last year to leave everything to her. "That's the obvious motive," Henderson agreed, "but in my experience, there's often more. Dig deeper while keeping yourself safe." He gave me activated charcoal and chelation medication to begin treating the poisoning and strict instructions to avoid anything Lena prepared. Before I left, he made one final comment that chilled me to the bone. "Mr. Wallace, don't underestimate her. If she realizes you'll be in immediate danger. People who poison aren't impulsive, they're methodical planners who don't give up easily." On the drive home, I made a decision. I wouldn't confront Lena yet. I needed to understand the full scope of her betrayal first, and I needed proof that would stand up in court. That afternoon, I claimed to feel better and went to my office. Once there, I called a private investigator recommended by Henderson and arranged a meeting. I also contacted my bank to check recent account activity. What I found shocked me. Over the past 6 months, nearly $200,000 had been transferred from our joint savings to an account I didn't recognize, in small enough increments to avoid triggering notifications. All authorized with my online banking credentials, which Lena obviously had access to. That evening, I returned home with a plan. I told Lena I'd been prescribed new medication that had to be taken with plain water only. No tea, no coffee, no juice. Food needed to be bland and simple for a few weeks. "The doctor thinks I might have developed sensitivities causing these symptoms," I explained. "So I need to eliminate possible triggers." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Which doctor is this? Not the one from yesterday?" "A specialist Dr. Payton referred me to," I said smoothly. "I went during lunch. You should have called me. I would have gone with you. You had your meeting. Besides, it was just a consultation." For the next week, I maintained the charade. I prepared my own food when possible, claiming my elimination diet required strict control. When Lena insisted on cooking, I found ways to dispose of it unseen. I washed with bottled water, used new toiletries I kept locked in my car, and took the chelation medication in secret. Slowly, my symptoms began to improve. The tremors subsided first, then the stomach pain. My thinking became clearer. Meanwhile, the private investigator delivered his first report, and what he found made my blood boil. Lena wasn't attending art collective meetings. She was meeting a man named Ryan at a house across town. The investigator's photos showed them embracing intimately outside the property. Property records revealed Ryan had purchased the house 3 months ago with a $200,000 down payment. My money, my wife, my murderer and her accomplice. Further digging revealed Ryan Bryce had a history of fraud charges that had been dismissed under mysterious circumstances. His previous girlfriend had died suddenly 2 years ago, ruled natural causes, but with symptoms strikingly similar to mine. I was not his first target, just his most lucrative one. That night, I lay awake while Lena slept beside me, her breathing deep and peaceful. How could someone plan my death so meticulously and sleep so soundly? The woman I'd built a life with for 10 years was a stranger, worse, an enemy. The next morning, I called in sick to work and waited for Lena to leave for her weekly grocery shopping. The moment her car disappeared down the street, I began searching our home methodically. In her art studio, behind a false panel in her supply cabinet, I found the mother lode, a small box containing several vials of white powder, chelation pills, and a notebook. The notebook detailed my symptoms, day by day, with clinical precision. Dosages were carefully noted, along with observations about effectiveness. Most chilling were her timeline projections, a date circled in red just 2 weeks away with the note, "Final dose if no results by then." She had scheduled my death like a business appointment. I photographed everything, then replaced it exactly as I'd found it. Next, I set up tiny cameras in our kitchen, bathroom, and bedroom, all places she'd likely prepare or administer the poison. That afternoon, I met with a lawyer to revise my will, removing Lena entirely. I opened new accounts at different banks and began quietly transferring funds. I documented my improving health now that I was avoiding her poisons. I was building my case methodically, determined to ensure she faced justice. But one question continued to haunt me. Was it just about money, or was there something deeper, more twisted in her motivation? The answer came 3 days later when I followed her to what was supposed to be a gallery meeting. Instead, she went to Ryan's house. I parked down the street and used a directional microphone the investigator had provided to listen through an open window. "He's acting strange," Lena's voice came through clearly. "Taking his own food. New medication. I'm worried he suspects something." "Impossible," Ryan replied. "You've been careful. Besides, nobody looks for thallium poisoning. They'll blame his symptoms on stress or disease." "I don't know. He's improving instead of declining." "Then increase the dosage. We've come too far to back out now. I've already nearly doubled it. Any more and it might be detectable in an autopsy." Ryan's laugh was cold. "By the time anyone thinks to look, we'll be on that island we talked about. 4 million buys a lot of privacy." There was a pause, then Lena's voice softened. "I wish we could just leave now. You know we can't afford it without his money." "Just a little longer, baby. 3 weeks tops. Then it's just you and me forever." Their words cut deeper than any knife. This wasn't just a wife poisoning her husband for inheritance. This was two people who had calculated exactly how much my life was worth to them, a means to an end, nothing more. I returned home before Lena, my mind strangely calm despite the storm raging within. That night, I watched through the hidden camera feed as she dissolved powder into my bedtime water glass while I was in the shower. The final piece of evidence was in place. I had everything I needed to go to the police. But as I lay beside her that night, pretending to sip the poisoned water before secretly disposing of it, I realized a simple arrest wouldn't satisfy me. No, Lena and Ryan deserved something more. Poetic. Something that would make them understand exactly what they had put me through. I had played the dying husband perfectly for months without realizing it. Now I would continue the performance, but with a very different final act in mind. My plan crystallized over the next week. I needed to give Lena and Ryan exactly what they wanted, death and Unaid, my death, while ensuring they received exactly what they deserved. First, I contacted Dr. Payton and Henderson to document my poisoning and recovery process. Next, I visited my lawyer again, this time recording our conversation with his permission. I revised my will once more, but with strategic modifications that would only become clear after my death. The most challenging part was finding someone I could trust completely. I found her in Detective Marina Powell, a no-nonsense investigator Henderson recommended who specialized in complex fraud cases. When I laid out the evidence and my plan, she initially refused. "Too risky," she said, shaking her head. "Let us arrest them now. We have enough." "And then what?" I argued. "Lena claims ignorance. Ryan says they're just friends. My testimony against theirs, with circumstantial evidence that any decent defense attorney could create reasonable doubt around." Marina frowned. "So instead you want to give them exactly what they want, exactly how they planned it, but with one crucial difference." She studied the detailed plan I'd prepared. "This could go wrong in a dozen ways. It only needs to go right in one way," I countered. Eventually, she agreed, but with additional safeguards I hadn't considered. Over the next 2 days, we set everything in motion. At home, I began exhibiting worsening symptoms again, tremors I didn't have, confusion I didn't feel. I let Lena catch me pouring my medication down the sink. "I hate these pills," I muttered. "They're making me feel worse, not better." The hidden camera captured her satisfied expression as she watched from the doorway, quickly masked with concern when I turned around. "Oh, honey," she said, "maybe we should get a second opinion?" "What's the point?" I said dejectedly. Every doctor says something different. I'm tired of fighting this. That evening, she was particularly attentive, preparing my favorite meal. I ate it all, knowing I had already taken the activated charcoal Henderson had provided that would neutralize any poison. I was thinking, I said, pushing my plate away, maybe we should go to the lake house this weekend after all. You suggested it a while back. Might do me good to get away. Her eyes lit up. Really? You feel up to it? Not really, I admitted. But I'm tired of being sick at home. At least there I can look at the water, get some fresh air. She immediately began planning, suggesting we leave Friday. I'll pack everything we need. You won't have to lift a finger. That night, I heard her on the phone in the bathroom, voice low but excited. Through the hidden camera feed on my phone, I watched her speaking rapidly. The lake house. This Friday. She paused, listening. It's perfect. Isolated. No neighbors until summer. Another pause. No, he suggested it himself. He's given up, Ryan. Stop taking his medication. She lowered her voice further. Bring what we discussed. It's time to end this. A chill ran down my spine despite knowing this was exactly what I'd been counting on. Hearing her discuss my murder so casually made it viscerally real in a way the evidence alone hadn't. The next day, I called my office and arranged for 2 weeks' leave, citing medical reasons. I contacted key friends with vague messages about disconnecting for a bit to focus on health. I set my email to auto-respond with a similar message. Meanwhile, Marina assembled her team and resources. We'll be in position Thursday night, she confirmed. Remember, once you're at the lake house, communication might be compromised. Stick to the schedule exactly. On Friday morning, I packed lightly while Lena loaded the car with groceries, luggage, and what she called art supplies. I knew from the cameras that one bag contained the amber vials of poison, additional chemicals, and her notebook. The 2-hour drive to the lake house was surreal. Lena chatted animatedly about art projects she wanted to start, meals she planned to cook, and how the fresh air would do wonders for my health, all while I knew she was planning my final weekend alive. Our lake house was truly isolated. Nearest neighbor was 2 miles away, and in early spring, those houses stood empty. The property sat on 3 wooded acres ending at a small private dock on the lake. My grandfather had built it 40 years ago, and though we'd modernized the interior, it retained its rustic charm. As we unpacked, I noticed Lena checking her phone frequently, typing quick responses to someone who could only be Ryan. Poor reception out here, I commented casually. She startled slightly. Just checking the weather forecast. Might rain Sunday. That evening, she prepared an elaborate dinner, complete with wine she insisted would pair perfectly with the fish. I ate carefully, taking small bites, drinking little. After dinner, I complained of exhaustion and went to bed early. I'll clean up and join you soon, she said, kissing my forehead. Through half-closed eyes, I watched her clear the dishes, then take out her phone. Her back to me, she whispered. He's fading fast, almost asleep. How close are you? Saturday passed in a haze of pretend weakness. I stayed in bed late, claiming dizziness. When I finally came downstairs, I moved slowly, deliberately knocking into a doorframe to demonstrate worsening coordination. Lena was solicitous, preparing special smoothies and teas I pretended to drink. I complained about numbness in my fingers, slurring my words slightly. Maybe we should go back, see a doctor, she suggested, though her eyes showed no real concern. No, I said firmly. No more doctors, just want peace. By late afternoon, I was sleeping on the couch when I heard the crunch of tires on our gravel driveway. Through slitted eyes, I saw Lena rush to the window, then quickly slip outside. Muffled voices drifted in. Lena and a male voice I assumed was Ryan's. They spoke too quietly to hear clearly, but their excitement was palpable. I waited 5 minutes after the door closed before slowly opening my eyes. Lena stood alone in the kitchen, unpacking a small bag that hadn't been there before. Inside were several medical-looking vials and a syringe. "What's that?" I asked, my voice intentionally weak. She whirled around, quickly hiding the bag behind her. "Just some vitamins I forgot to pack. How are you feeling?" "Worse," I mumbled. "Everything's spinning." Relief flooded her face. "Let me make you some tea. It might help." "Thanks," I said. "Think I'll try to shower first. Feel so sticky." In the bathroom, I sent a quick text to Marina. Visitor arrived with supplies, moving to phase 2. The response came immediately. Confirmed. All units in position. That night, Lena was particularly attentive, almost tender in her ministrations. She helped me back to the couch after my shower, brought tea that I secretly disposed of, and sat beside me stroking my hair as we watched a movie neither of us was paying attention to. "I've been thinking," I said slowly. "Maybe I should call my lawyer tomorrow, update some things." Her hand paused momentarily in my hair. "What things, honey?" "Just, in case something happens, make sure you're taken care of." She resumed stroking, her voice carefully neutral. "That's very thoughtful. But let's not think about such things now. Focus on resting." As bedtime approached, Lena prepared more tea. This time, I watched through heavy-lidded eyes as she added not just the white powder but also liquid from one of the new vials. "Special blend," she said when she caught me watching. "Herbal remedy that might help you sleep better." I nodded weakly and took the cup. While she turned to adjust a blanket, I poured most of it into a special absorbent pad I'd hidden between the couch cushions. "I'm so tired," I murmured after pretending to drink. "So, dizzy. Just sleep, honey," she whispered, taking the cup. "Everything will be better soon." I closed my eyes, breathing deeply and regularly as I'd practiced. After a few minutes, I felt her fingers against my neck, checking my pulse. She did this twice more over the next hour as I maintained my charade of deep sleep. Around midnight, I heard the door open quietly. Footsteps, a man's heavier tread, approached. "Is he out?" Ryan's voice, low and impatient. "Completely," Lena replied. "I gave him double the dose plus the sedative. His breathing seems shallow. You sure you didn't overdo it?" "It's fine. The thallium has been weakening him for months. His body can't fight anymore." Their voices moved toward the kitchen. I risked opening my eyes slightly. Ryan was taller than I expected, with dark hair and the kind of conventional good looks that photographed well. He wore latex gloves and was unpacking what looked like medical equipment. "How long?" Lena asked. "Once we administer this, 15 minutes, maybe less. It'll look like cardiac arrest, expected, given his symptoms. By the time anyone does an autopsy, if they even bother, the compound will have broken down. And we need to wait until 3 a.m., Ryan finished. Deaths between 2 and 4 a.m. are most common, naturally. Less suspicious." Lena nodded. "Then we stage it, call emergency services in the morning when I discover him, and by tomorrow night, I'm a grieving widow." Ryan pulled her close. "A very wealthy grieving widow. We should search his phone while we wait," Lena suggested. "Make sure he hasn't contacted anyone suspicious." I tensed internally. My phone, with the text to Marina, was in my pocket. "Later," Ryan dismissed. "We have other ways to pass the time." I kept my breathing steady as they disappeared upstairs, the bedroom door closing behind them. The moment they were gone, I extracted the phone and deleted the conversation with Marina. Then I returned to my position, heart pounding despite my outward stillness. At 2:45 a.m., they returned downstairs. I sensed them standing over me, watching. "Still completely out," Lena confirmed after checking my pulse again. "Perfect," Ryan said. "Let's prepare the injection." The next few minutes involved soft clinking of glass, whispered instructions. I focused on maintaining the appearance of deep sleep while my mind raced through the timing of our plan. "Ready," Ryan finally said. "Once I administer this, we have to move quickly to position him. It needs to look like he got up feeling ill, collapsed here naturally." I felt fingers brushing my arm, pushing up my sleeve. Cold antiseptic wiped against my skin. "Goodbye, Theo," Lena whispered. "You've served your purpose." This was the moment. As I felt the needle's tip touch my skin, I whispered, "So have you, Lena." Her gasp coincided with the crash of breaking glass as every window in the lake house shattered simultaneously, tactical entry from Marina's team. Flashlights and laser sights swept the room as officers poured in from all directions. "Police! Drop the syringe! Hands where we can see them!" Ryan froze, the syringe still poised above my arm. Lena's scream cut through the chaos as I rolled away, fully alert, and stood beside the couch. "Theodore Wallace," I announced clearly for the body cam footage. "Badge number 8421, undercover operation Inheritor's Powder. Suspects are attempting to administer a fatal injection after months of thallium poisoning." The look of shocked betrayal on Lena's face as officers handcuffed her was worth every moment of suffering I'd endured. "You're a cop?" she whispered incredulously. "Civilian consultant," I corrected. "Recruited after Dr. Peyton discovered your poisoning attempt. Everything you've done for the past 3 weeks has been monitored, documented, and witnessed by law enforcement." Ryan struggled against his restraints. "You can't prove anything. It's his word against ours." Marina stepped forward, tablet in hand. "Actually, we have video of you preparing the injection and discussing your murder plan, plus documented evidence of thallium poisoning, financial fraud, and conspiracy to commit murder." As they were led away, Lena looked back at me one last time. "I did love you once," she said. I met her gaze steadily. "That makes one of us who wasn't pretending." The case against Lena and Ryan was airtight. The trial revealed Ryan's previous girlfriend had indeed been poisoned, her body was exhumed, and thallium was found in her remains. They received consecutive life sentences with no possibility of parole. As for the money they coveted, not a penny went to either of them. My revised will donated the entire estate to a foundation for poisoning victims and research into better detection methods. I testified at their sentencing hearing, finally face to face with the woman who had shared my bed while plotting my death. "You asked if I was a cop," I said, looking directly at Lena. "I wasn't. I'm an architect who designed buildings, not traps. But you taught me how quickly someone can learn new skills when properly motivated." "You could have just divorced me," she said bitterly. I smiled slightly. "And let you walk away to target someone else? No. You wanted my death on your terms. Instead, you got life on mine." 6 months later, fully recovered from the poisoning, I stood on the deck of the rebuilt lake house. The property was now a retreat center for survivors of domestic abuse and attempted homicide. The first group would arrive tomorrow. My phone buzzed with a text from Marina. "Turn on the news." The broadcast showed Lena being transferred to a maximum security facility after her appeal was denied. The camera briefly caught her face, gaunt, haunted, defeated. Some might call it justice. I call it symmetry. She spent months watching me deteriorate, believing she controlled my fate. Now I was healthy and free, while she would spend decades watching her own life waste away, day by day, in a prison cell. That, I decided as I turned off the TV, was the most fitting poison of all: time and the knowledge of what might have been. If this story of betrayal and justice moved you, please hit that subscribe button right now. Every week we bring you real stories of revenge served ice cold that will make you question how well you know the people closest to you. Drop a like if you think Theo's revenge was justified, and leave a comment telling us what you would have done in his position. Remember to share with anyone who appreciates psychological thrillers that could happen to anyone, because sometimes truth is more chilling than fiction.